No one wants to say the word out loud yet. Not the league, not the owners, not the players. But behind closed doors, the conversation has already begun. Strike. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. And the alarming part isn't the strike itself. It's why so many insiders now believe it's unavoidable. The WNBA isn't just facing tension anymore. It's choking on a money problem, a timing problem, and a power problem all hitting at once. And here's the twist. It didn't start with contract demands. It didn't start with salary debates. It started the moment attention shifted, quietly but decisively, one broadcast at a time. When Caitlyn Clark stepped into those NBA on NBC segments, something the league never anticipated happened. The audience followed her. Not a portion of fans, the majority. Ratings told the truth before anyone else would acknowledge it. Social media told it even faster. Suddenly, conversations weren't about teams, standings, or parity. They were about her, where she was, what she said, and more importantly, where she wasn't. That shift mattered far more than the league wanted to admit, because attention is currency, and currency determines leverage. Inside WNBA offices, the first reaction wasn't panic. It was denial. This is temporary. It will level out. The season will stabilize. It didn't. Instead, sponsors changed their questions. They stopped asking, "How is the league doing?" and started asking, "Where is Caitlyn Clark appearing next?"
Part of all of that. But anyway, with the Super Bowl, a lot of people were also tuned into the Super Bowl commercials. And Nike actually announced before the Super Bowl that they would not be running any ads this year, which had Caitlyn Clark fans very sad because a lot of people were thinking that maybe Nike was going to debut Caitlyn Clark's signature shoe in a Super Bowl commercial. But that was not the case. WNBA fans, Caitlyn Clark fans across the world were very sad about that, but it also has a lot of us wondering if Caitlyn Clark's shoe is still going to be released this spring if there's not a WNBA season or if the WNBA season is stalled. Now, in today's episode, I do want to give you guys the latest update on the CBA negotiations, but the latest update that we have with Caitlyn Clark and her Nike shoes is a brand new Nike Kobe 6 colorway. So as you can see, it's the blue and yellow colorway, and Caitlyn Clark, I believe, posted some of these on her Instagram page, but this is all we've got so far still with Caitlyn Clark's shoe. Now, you guys know my feelings. I feel like Caitlyn Clark's signature shoe is well overdue. I thought it should have been released at least last season, could have been released during her rookie season, and
that question rattled the entire system. Because professional leagues only survive through centralized control. A star with independent gravitational pull threatens that order. And the owners saw the danger immediately. When Caitlyn Clark showed up on NBC, the numbers spiked. When she didn't, they didn't crash, they flatlined. That distinction cut deeper than any collapse could, because it meant the league wasn't failing. It just wasn't being chosen. And to an institution built on audience loyalty, being unchosen is the nightmare scenario. Players felt the shift almost instantly. Travel discussions got sharp. Marketing expectations tightened. Long-term projections suddenly looked shaky. Quietly, never publicly, never officially. The financial models began to change. Not because the league was broke, but because the growth curve stopped rising. And growth is everything. Growth pays salaries. Growth funds expansion. Growth keeps labor peace alive. When growth stalls, strikes stop being hypothetical. That's when the whispers began. About that one looming year. The next major negotiation window. The next hard reset. The next moment where players could finally force real change.
Latest revenue share offer doesn't exceed 15%, but the league does bend on housing and facility standards. So the latest CBA proposal was submitted on Friday night, and it did not include a revenue split beyond 15%. The WNBPA had waited almost 6 weeks for a WNBA reply to its request for a 30% share of league and team revenue and a $10 million plus salary cap. Although it was believed the league had previously offered 15%, sources told Sports Business Journal it was always less than 15%, and that Friday night's offer similarly did not surpass that number. So basically, it seems like the league came back to them, changed some other things that I feel like are things that could be easily negotiated. We've talked about it in previous episodes. They changed some of those things, and they maybe budged like 1% on the revenue split. And what we've been hearing from all the players is if they do not budge on the revenue split, like that's all that they're focused on. And the players are also not going to budge. So we're getting to the point where one of them is either going to concede or they're going to strike or lock out because they're just calling one another's bluff. Basically, the players are saying, we're not budging until you give us this gross revenue split of 30%. The league is offering a net revenue split of 70%. And the league took 6 weeks to respond to this. And it doesn't seem like they changed too much. And Alexa Filippo tweeted about the changes to housing. And the WNBA's latest proposal included
the latest WNBA CBA proposal keeps the revenue share capped at 15%, though the league did make some concessions on housing and facility standards. The WNBPA had been waiting nearly 6 weeks for a response to their request for a 30% share of league and team revenue and a $10 million-plus salary cap. While some believe the league's prior offer was 15%, sources told Sports Business Journal it was actually less, and Friday night's proposal didn't exceed that either. Essentially, the league returned with minor adjustments, tweaks on housing, facilities, and maybe a 1% bump in the revenue split. But the sticking point remains the same. The players are laser-focused on that 30% gross revenue share, and they have no intention of compromising. The league, meanwhile, is holding firm at a 70% net revenue split. 6 weeks have passed, negotiations have barely moved, and the standoff is intensifying. As one insider put it, this is now a classic game of chicken. Either the league concedes, the players strike, or a lockout looms. Alexa Filippo even tweeted that while the league made some concessions on housing, the revenue split remains the deal-breaker. Both sides are calling each other's bluff, and the clock is ticking toward a potential labor showdown.
Guess that this season is already delayed. All the reports up until now have said that if they don't get a deal done by the first week in February, the first 2 weeks in February, then the season will be delayed. And even in my chat with Annie Costable, one of the things that stood out to me most is when she said that nobody is aware of what the rules are for the expansion draft. And something else that stood out to me is when she said that the players are also pushing for different rules when it comes to core designation and those types of contracts. All of that plays into the expansion draft. Nothing is planned for that. And free agency this year, there's so much more money on the table. And that's what Annie also said in our chat. She was like, it seems like a lot of players once again are going to take on 1-year deals because the free agency season is going to be shortened. Even with this new CBA, there's going to be so much more money on the table.
If the money followed Caitlyn Clark to NBC, and if the audience followed her there too, then what exactly was left to negotiate? That question echoed through locker rooms, because players don't strike over feelings, they strike over futures. And suddenly, the future felt uncertain. Some players were furious. Others were fearful. A few were already mapping out exits, overseas contracts, media opportunities, brand deals outside the league. When stability cracks, everyone looks out for themselves. The league tried to regain control. Internal meetings, carefully worded messaging, promises of long-term vision, but vision doesn't pay bills. The real mistake wasn't losing Caitlyn Clark's attention. It was underestimating just how much that loss would strip the league of leverage.